better? Okay. So what we're looking at is Axure. So does everyone have that up? It should be somewhere on your desktop there, Axure RP, right? So open up that, and then you should get a little dialog in front, but just say new project or whatever, okay? Okay, so let's go through some of the sections that we're looking at here. So up at the top, we have our typical, do you want me to make this a little bigger? Can you guys see okay? Yeah, resolution's okay? Okay. So at the top, we have our typical menu items, right? New project, open recent, save, right? That's all pretty standard. Edit, very similar. View, we'll go through some of the functionality there. Um, there's some stuff on publishing. So I'll show you how you can just preview it on your screen, but then you can also use their service called Axure, which is equivalent to Envision service. So, because one of the things with mobile prototypes is you kind of have to have your prototype on a publicly accessible web server so that you can see it on your phone. There are other ways to do it. Like I think Sketch has a thing that'll just if you plug into your computer, it'll do it automatically. But the way you do it with Axure, and I've always done it, is put it on a server. So I'll show you what that. So that could be Axure, which is Axure's server, or it can be your own web server that you just lease. Or like one time for a prototype, I just had a laptop that I set a web server up, and then a router, a wireless router, and then I connected the phone to the router, which then connected to my web server on my laptop, and I could do it that way. Okay. Okay, so and then there's some account stuff. You can log into your Azure account and stuff like that. Okay, so this area here called Pages, this is where you can um, navigate to all your pages. So you see up the top here, each one of these tabs is one of these pages. Okay, so this area here is your page. That's your kind of that's the unit that it uses of segmenting the functionality. So notice how, see this page one is kind of underneath home. So that just means it's a child. So you can adjust it. So see there, I just made page one. I just put it on the main branch there. So I made it not be a child of home anymore. Okay. Now I don't think there's not much functionality on making it, like nothing really comes with making it a child other than just kind of organizing your pages in that section. Okay, so we can navigate our pages there. Right below there is probably the next most important area. That's our kind of our toolbox, or our library as they call it. So you can see in here there's a whole bunch of images and objects that we can click and drag onto our stage or onto our page here. Okay, so the first thing is a box. Okay, so I just dragged a box into the screen there. Did you see what I did? I just clicked on box one, I clicked and I dragged it in. So remember that well, not remember, but so everything in HTML is a box. Every element you see on a web page is a box. And I think I'm going to give you probably in 2 or 3 weeks a very preliminary introduction to HTML. Oh no, probably next week. Next week we're talking about user interface fundamentals. So I'm going to juxtapose that, like, okay, this is a drop down, and I'm going to show you the HTML code that goes behind it, just so that you can kind of get an understanding of how things work. So remember, everything in HTML is a box, that'll be important later on. So notice I put in this box here, and then on the side I have some parameters of that box. So you notice here in this area, it's called the inspector here on the right. So you'll see when I click on the page, there's nothing there, right? But when I click on the box, so now this box, this inspector is referring to the thing I clicked on. So notice at the top I could give it a name. You see there, it said I clicked on the box, and then at the top here it says rectangle name. Okay, so what you can click in there and give your name, your box a name. So like maybe call it box, my first box, right? Something like that. You'll see later why you want to label your objects, because later on you'll want to reference them. And if you just have a list of rectangle, 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 you're not going to know what to pick. But if you have my first box, my second box, et cetera, you'll know what you want to reference to. Okay? Okay, so once you have the box, then we can do a few things to it. So let's click on, you'll notice there's properties, there's notes. So like I could say, this is my first really cool box. And that we can use later when we export, we can use that later. But so what we can do now is set the style of that box. And what all this stuff here, all this style that's on the side here, it's a little cut off from the screen, but you can mostly see it. Those are all the things available to you in what's called CSS, cascading style sheets. So for not all, I wouldn't say all, but very mostly the stuff that you would utilize in HTML and CSS are available to you here. So for example, the X and Y position, right? So you can position it by changing it, clicking and moving it, or you can, right, it works just like Illustrator or any other vector drawing program. You can just click and change it like that, or moving it around or manipulating. So same thing with the width. I can just click on the box and make it wider, or I could go here and change the W and make it 600 pixels. Because a lot of times you just want to make it a certain size. You don't want to like, okay, I'm gonna, you got to play around with the mouse. You just go in there, set the size, and you're done. Okay. Then also you can rotate things, right? You can you can flip things. Well, that doesn't, a rectangle that flips, you can't really see it. But, well, let's say I'll rotate it 20 and then flip it, right? Okay. So you can also, you can fill it in, right? You can, so see now how this is behind this one? You can right click and you can order them. So I can bring to the front, right? Or I can right click and order and send to the back, right? Very similar. I think if you've used Illustrator before, it should look very much the same, okay? So we're gonna click back on here. We can do, what else can we do? We can do a shadow. So I can turn that shadow on. Let's change the fill so we can see the shadow. I'll make it yellow. So now we can see the fill and the shadow. We can change where the shadow is offset, right? We can change all these aspects, okay? We can do what's called, why can't we set, why is that disabled? Corner radius. What's that? Oh, yours isn't? Do you have a border though? Oh, probably, oh, you turn the border on? That's probably why. So let me turn the border on. I'm gonna make it, let's see, did that make it thicker? Yeah. Let's see. No, it's not allowing me to. Does anyone else have that option available? So see here, so here's border right under corner radius. You should be able to round out the corners on your box. For me, it's disabled. John, you're saying that it's not? You're having it? Oh, maybe, is it because of the shadow? I don't think so. Is it because of the rotation? Oh, see, this one has it. Why? That's weird. I don't know. I'll have to figure out why that's happening. But you can you can round the corners. Oh, you know what you can do actually? Because see, there's a little yellow triangle. Did you see that at the top here? You can actually click and drag that, and it will round the corners as well. Why didn't it do this one? Oh yeah. Okay. So see that? So that's a kind of a shortcut way of doing it. I'm not sure why this one is being disabled though. Is it because it's filled? Can't be. I'll have to get back to you guys about why that's happening. But you should be able to do that to everything. So let's continue with this one. You can change the opacity, which is pretty cool. So we'll put fill in this one. And then I can change the opacity, which is how much you can see through it. So now it's opaque, right? So now you can kind of see through one. You can double click on most things and then put text inside. So I double clicked on my box, and now I'm going to say this is my rounded box, okay? And what I can do now is I can set the font in here. So I can set it to be, I wonder if they have Roboto installed. Roboto. So it works off your system fonts. So you guys might, because you're on Macs, you might be a little bit differently. But if you download a font and install it, it should be available in Axure. Um, yeah, well, there are some issues with fonts because if you pick, so let's say if you install a custom font on your machine and then export your Axure project to a website and then send that to me, I'm not certain that specific font will come with. I think you might have to do something special. We'll have another Axure thing and we'll do some of the detail stuff like that. But I have run into funny business with fonts where I think I forget what I ended up doing, but maybe in publish now, web fonts. See here, include web fonts. So what you can do is with your project, you can include either a downloaded font or a link to another font. Okay, but you have to, if you use non-system-based fonts, you have to consider them, right? And don't forget. Okay, so what you can do is, so I change it to Roboto, and then I'm also going to make it, let's make it 36, and we'll set it to thin. How about that? And let's change the color to black. Okay. So line spacing, that just changes the spacing between text in the box. Usually you probably won't want to manipulate that. Bullets, we can add bullets to the text. We can change the alignment by clicking here, right? And we can change padding. So remember, everything in HTML is a box. So you have the border, right? Your border, and inside the border, that's your padding. So it's space inside. Margin is the space around the outside of your border. So you see there's padding here. So if I change the padding on the top, let's say to be 40 or something, see how it pushed down my text? Yep. Question? Or you're having troubles? What happened? Show me what you did. Oh no. Because you actually you drew a line. So you got to click and drag and hold and then drag the box in. There you go. It's not, I think Illustrator is like you click and activate the tool and then do the thing. No, you're actually like you're moving the object onto the stage. Got it? Everyone else kind of following along here? Okay, excellent. Okay, so that is a box. That was just one item, and you can do tons of stuff just with that box. Um, so you have other shapes. I think you can even change these shapes to triangles and things. I don't really use that. Convert, transform shape. You can do all sorts of vector stuff. So you can combine shapes and then so you can do stuff, transform shape. Like so subtract, unite, intersect, exclude, right? All the stuff you can do in Illustrator almost, right? Um, Did you pick two objects? Yeah, you got to pick both. Yeah. Okay. So what else can we show? So that is basic drawing, boxes, right? So remember, it does a box. Box is the first thing because remember, HTML is a box. Everything is a box. Headings are boxes, images are boxes, links are boxes, drop downs are boxes. Everything is a box. And I'll just show you really quickly the CSS box model. So this is your CSS box model. Just want to see this one. Okay, so you have, it's a box and you have your content that's inside. Then around your content you have padding, and then you have a border around the padding, and then you have a margin around the border, and then even you have an outline around the margin. Okay, so you can set all these in CSS and in Axure. Okay, that's the box model. Okay, so let's look at, so image. We can drop in an image, and then we can, I believe we, how can we set it after? Yeah, we can import an image, or we can just drag it in. So let's see what I have here. Generic, just something, MX logo. Boom, right? But you can also just do this. Go to your desktop or go wherever, and images. Let's see, I have pictures. Yeah, here's a nice picture of my high school yearbook photo. Look at this guy. I had a black eye on my photo. I got hit with 2 baseballs right in my face the day before my picture day. 98. All right. So you see that? So I just clicked and dragged it right in and it appeared. And then you can adjust the size. Okay? Yeah. I think you could do this. Let's try this. No. What you could probably do, let's see, is, yeah, do this. Yeah, you could do that, like that. You could, I wonder, I don't know if you can set an image in a box, but that's how I would do it. There could be another better way, but that just off the top, that's how I would do it. Yeah. You mean if you want to add in the images later? Yeah, you got to add them in, drop them in, and then if you want them to be round or something, then yeah, change it like that. As far as, I don't know if you could, I'd have to look into, like, if a triangle or something. I don't know. I'd have to look that up for you. But okay. So where was I? I was dragging in images. So we have images. We have, okay. Um, this is where it gets very good. So see, so I clicked in and I dropped in a button. Okay. So that is a little piece of interactivity. Okay. So right now, this is where Axure goes and strides way ahead of InVision and Adobe XD. Okay, so buttons, that's one type of interaction. And I'll actually show you an easier type before we go on to buttons and I introduce events to you. Okay, so one other very common interactive thing that you'll use is a drop list, one of these bad boys. Okay, so see, I went down to here under forms. So I have up top, there was this common section. And what I did is I went to forms and I clicked and dragged in drop list. Okay. So what I can do for this is I can double click on it. And now I can add my items for my drop list. So I can say item 1, right? Item 2, item 3. This is a different item. Okay. We can click on this, edit many, right? We can just put in a list and like we can just copy a list from somewhere and put in stuff, right? Item 5. Okay. Okay. And then I click OK. So now I'm going to show you how to preview what you've done. Okay. So what you do is you go over here and see how it says preview and you click it. So now what it's going to do is it's going to take all that vector diagramming and it's going to automatically create a web page for you in HTML. Okay. So go up, it's a little play. See the preview button there? Or you can hit F5. It should be the same. Okay. Okay. So now you'll notice that where'd I go? Did I close it? So I'll open it again. Yeah, it's amazing. So now you'll see on the side you have your little menu thing. So you can navigate from your items. Okay, now click on your drop down and notice that it's an actual real drop down that you can pick. Okay? Do you know what you have to do in InVision to do that? You have to create 3 different pages. One page with the collapsed, one page with the list expanded, and then one page with the item picked. And then what you do is you hotspot links between those 2 pages. Okay? So what if you wanted to do a user test where you had 10 items in the dropdown and something different would happen every time? How would you do that in InVision? It would take you days to do that, right? So right there, we've already blasted way past InVision and XD, like way past, right? Just doing this, okay? Okay, so let's go back. Um, let's add in a few more elements, right? Because this actually will tie nicely into next week. We're going to talk about these elements kind of specifically. So we can have a text area, right, which is a multi-line text box where you can type things in. You can have what else do we have here? A text field. So that's just a single line field, okay? You can have a checkbox, right, that actually, it'll work, right? So when I go here now, I can actually click on the checkbox, right? I can actually type in the text field. It's not just a drawing, it's the thing, right? In here, I can type in here and do all sorts of stuff. I don't think so. I don't think so. You could just keep this. Yeah. Oh yeah, 1 year? Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty. Yeah. You just go to Axure.com and it's under licenses. And then, no, not that. Uh, edu. Yeah, and then you just submit your request, first name, last name, email, name of school, and then a picture of like your ID or something. Or they're pretty relaxed, I think. Um, okay. Yes. So this ruler up here. So what you can do is you can have guidelines too. So see, click on the square, and then you can. Oh, sorry, no, not on the square. The line, and then drag it over. And so now you can have. So if you're like, okay, I want to build for a 900 pixel screen. So here's the one drawback of Axure, which if they solve this, then it's all over, is it doesn't really do responsive super well, right? So I'll teach you maybe next week when I do my HTML. So I use a technology called Bootstrap that handles all the responsive sizing for me. So I don't do that. I just in my layout, I'll say I have 12 columns, or I have 6 columns, or I have 3 columns, and I want them all to be even. And then Bootstrap, so let's say when I collapse the screen, Bootstrap will automatically stack those columns for me, depending on how I set things. But in Axure, that doesn't really exist as of yet. But what you can do, there is a way, like there is a responsive feature but basically you kind of have to design like each view, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but it's kind of the best we have at this point. Okay, so you can set up your your guideline there. Same with the top. You just click and drag, and then you can say, okay, this is going to be my page that I'm going to design for in here. Or maybe you're designing for a phone, so you want to design a nice small little window, right? And you can design for that. Okay, you can add in a list box. Let me move this over here. Or we already did that. List box we did. Radio button, right? You can have multiple radio buttons. And then what you do is, how do you set the, oh yeah, okay. So remember, what's the difference between checkboxes and radio buttons?
Radio button is like you can only choose one. Checkboxes you can choose multiple.
Yes. Okay. So radio buttons need to be part of a group because they need to know which one you've clicked. So see here, I click here, and then I'll just type it in, I guess group 1. And then I click the other one, and then I should be able to pick group 1. So now when I play it, cross your fingers, it should only pick 1. Yeah, see how it actually functioned, right? Okay. So again, to do that in InVision and Sketch, you need to draw 2 versions of your screen. That's a pain in the butt. Okay, back to here. So we have radio buttons, and we also can have tables. Tables, I use tables all the time. Header 1, header 2. Okay, so let's preview. Let's preview our masterpiece. Look at that beautiful thing. Okay, so we could have radio buttons at work. We have check boxes at work. We have text fields we can fill in and text boxes and drop downs we can pick from. Buttons. Okay. Yes.
How do we see the maybe you're going to it right now, but how do we see the code, the HTML code?
Oh, you normally wouldn't. You wouldn't care. But what you can do is, okay, so I previewed, or no, wait, what you can do is go to Publish and go to Generate HTML files, and then it'll tell you the folder it's going to put it in. So I'm gonna create a folder on my desktop. I think I already have one called Axure something or other. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop called Axure Export. Select, and then I'm going to pick, oh no, it's already there. So that's, and then I'm going to say opening Chrome and generate. So now it's created those files in this folder. So that's all the files there, right? So if I can just go, this is the page. This is my home page. Or see, index is the page with the helpers and stuff, with the menu on the side. Oops. Oh, you need a extension for Chrome. I don't know, or you shouldn't though. So that's page 1. It's just a blank page. But we can look at home. So I can look at the code. So that's the code, right?
Does the code usually include a lot of fluff
Not fluff, but the code is not human readable. It's not like it is the way it is now. It's basically readable, right? Here's my select option, right? But what happens is uh, it writes the code in a way that the computer finds easy, which is it repeats a lot of stuff. Whereas if I was a human being creating the code, I would do things a lot differently. But generally, the rule of thumb is you don't want to manipulate the code if you can get away with it. Because what happens is every time you do an export, it just rewrites all the code again. So if I went in here and edited it, like say here, Carmen is pretty cool, right? And I put that in here and saved it, and then opened it up in Firefox or whatever. It's up there. It's there, right? But now if I do this and I export again, so it's going to be gone now. If I just go back to here and refresh, it's gone. right? So one thing you can do, there are tricks. You can, where can you, in advanced mobile, there's a way to do stuff in here and include a JavaScript file. But that gets advanced. I don't like, I've only ever had to do that one time when I was creating something for a prototype for user testing. But usually I don't do that. Okay, so we have put lots of stuff on the screen. So now I'm going to introduce you guys to events. Okay, this is where Axure, so Axure right now, like InVision and Sketch, they're stuck on the ground. They're like a nice car. They're stuck. Axure has got us flying in the air. Now I'm going to show you how to get into outer space. Because what is this course called? It's called Interaction Design, right? It's not called Page Design. It's called Interaction Design. So what's the second part of that word? Actions. You got to do stuff, right? So if your prototyping tool can't do things, it's not really a good prototyping tool. Okay, so what can we do? What's an easy thing to do? Let's have clicking on this button, let's have it do something. Let's have it go to another link, okay? So what you'll do is you click on the button. Everyone should have a button that they can put in. If you don't have one, just go down into button and drag it in, okay? And then click on that button. And then notice over on the side, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name my button, okay? So I'm going to name this, whenever I name things, first I put what it is. So if it's a button, I'll put lowercase button, and then I'll put a descriptive word after that. So then what happens if I order by alphabetical, I'll see all my buttons, and then what buttons, what they do. So I'll say buttons go to link or something, okay? So I'll call that. So now notice under here, it has this thing called interactions, right? And here it says these three things here: on click, on mouse enter, and on mouse out, okay? And then there's this thing here that says more events. And if you click that, you'll see way more, right? On double click, on mouse up, on mouse down, on mouse move, on long click, on key up, on key down, right? These are all JavaScript events, okay? So what an event is every time you do something on a page, like interact or scroll around, right? These events are firing, right? So what you need to do if you want to react to an event is create an event handler, right? So when you click on a button, that's an event, but you need to tell it what to do in that event, okay? So the way you do that is, and most of the events you'll use will be listed at the top, right here, right? The top three, and then there's more in here. Okay, so we want to do something when you click on that button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say on click, which is it's almost a sentence, right? It's two words, on click. So I'm going to click on this. I double clicked on the on click event. Okay, so now it's all this stuff on the side here is all the stuff that's available to me to do on that click. So I can open a link, right? I can close a window. I can scroll to a widget. I can set an adaptive view. So adaptive views are the responsive stuff that it does. I can show and hide elements, right? I can set text on another element to be something else. I can set a panel state. I'll show you dynamic panels. We might have time to get to that tonight. You can enable, disable something. You can move, rotate, set opacity. Basically anything you can do. Yes. Totally. Absolutely. That's what we're going to do first thing. And then we're going to come back and do something else. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on open link. Or see, I expanded open link to current window, and I'm going to click on current window. Okay, so it's going to open the link in current window, and then in here, it's giving me some configuration. So I can open in the current window, and then it's saying, okay, do you want to link to any of your internal pages that you've created? Or do you want to link to an external URL, which you can do? So let's just do that for now. So let's go to Google, okay? So I click to an external URL or link, and I typed in the URL, and then I clicked OK. So now you can see it says on click, case one, there's only one case. We can show how there could be two cases or more later. But you're going to say on click, open up Google in the current window. Okay, so let's preview that and let's see our first prototype. So I'm going to click on this button. Uh-oh, what happened? Didn't work. Why didn't it work? In current window, HTTP link to an external, open in current window. It should work. Let's try again. Um,
The new window tab won't work.
the new window tab? Why? Oh, you know why? Because I don't have my Chrome extension in, I think. It needs okay, if any of you are using Chrome, I'm just gonna add in uh, the Chrome extension for Axure really quick. That should work. Oh, it's already added. Added to Chrome. Okay, that's weird. That should definitely work. I'm not sure why that's not working.
Would it have been added on these?
Maybe, maybe not. Let me try doing this. Generate HTML. We're going to open up in Firefox. Could be just an issue with Chrome right now, but that should definitely work. Huh. Not working. Why isn't that working? It could be because preview options. Okay. Without sidebar, I think that could be it. Preview. There we go. Okay, so somehow this sidebar that I had at the side was preventing Google from loading. I think it's because I'm running a local web server on my machine, and it when I try and go to an external site, it doesn't like that. So what I did there to see that, so when you run your prototypes, you can run it with that thing called the sidebar, which is the it's like I'll show you. Well, so with pages open, so this thing is the sidebar here. So, because sometimes you might have a bunch of designs that aren't linked together and you can't navigate through them, but then you can use this navigation to navigate through your designs, right? But then in my button to Google didn't work in that case. But if I went to preview options and then launched without the sidebar, then you don't get that side menu. Then it's just the actual site, right? It's not inside a frame. And then when I clicked the button, then I went to Google right away. Okay? Okay. So that is an interesting thing, but we can also do other things. So I could do stuff like, let's go. So I'm going to go click on my button again, go back into the case. And then instead of just opening a link, what I'm going to do is set the text on. So this is why you need to label all your widgets. So see in here, see, these are all my widgets that I have. So I have table cell, table cell, table cell, because I didn't name anything in my table. I have radio button, because I didn't label my radio buttons. But see, I remember I did label my first box. I did label that. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to set the value to be, this is really, Axure is the best prototyping tool. Okay, and I'm going to set OK. So now the text on this box should be set when I click the button. So now I'm going to hit preview, and I'm going to hit this button. Boom. There you go. Okay. How are you guys coming? Does everybody have some cool stuff on their page? Did you get a button? Did you get the event handler working? No? Okay, no problem.
So what was that last functions last action you just did?
Pardon me?
What's that last action?
Oh, to change the wording?
To link to the whole list of things that you have on screen here. So how to click something so it activates something else on screen.
To go to another
So
page?
literally what you just did. So you click it and the text appears at the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. So I said set text, and then I picked the thing I want to change,
Got it.
right? And then that's the value that I'm going to change it to. So yeah, you can. There's rich text. You see when you drop that down, there's a bunch of other stuff available too, right? Um, yeah. Okay. What do you mean C? That's okay. Click OK, and then just see it work. Or so what are you expecting it to do? Well, but you should. Oh, you can do that. You can set it, but so click on the object, and then see here up here. These are the events you're hooking into. So you're saying on click of this button, you're going to open middle child in current window. So is that, oh, that's your like another page. So if you click on that, it's going to open up another page. And then this one won't happen though because you've gone to another page, right? Or it might happen really quick, but then you go to another page, so you won't see it, right? Okay, let's do something else. Let's do this. So I'm gonna make this drop down. We're gonna make this drop down do some fun stuff. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on my drop down and I'm gonna give it a name. So I'm gonna call it drop down, and then I'm gonna call it hide and show. Okay. So, and then in my drop down, I'm going to delete all the items. Or I can go in here. Oh, I deleted them all. And I'm just going to add two. I'm going to say hide, and the next one's going to be show. Okay? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to take one of my images here, and I'm going to, I want to hide it. How can I not hide it? Might have to do it on the page load. Oh yes, hidden. There we go. So see how I can click on an item. I clicked on a photo and I went to style and then I clicked on hidden and then it went away, but it's still there. It's just not showing. Okay?
Where's hidden?
It's right at the very top. It's hidden. The hidden thing, the hidden checkbox is hidden. It's ironic. Is that irony? I don't think that's irony. Something similar to irony. Okay. Um, so now what I want to do, I'm going to show that box when I change this to show. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here and then click on properties and then double click on selection change because that's the main event of your dropdown whenever you change the selection. So I'm going to click on that and then inside here I'm going to say on selection change I'm going to show hide. So see under widgets I can click on show hide and then I'm going to show and hide my box, my first box. Or no, wait, no. Sorry, I'm going, yeah, I want to, oh, did I label this? No, I didn't label my image, which is what I really needed to label. Sorry about that. So remember that go back on the image that you hid and then label it as so image and then hide and show, let's say. Okay. So now we're back into our drop down. So click on the drop down, click on, you can just double click on show hide and then you come up here. And now we can pick our image hide and show out of the list because we've labeled it properly, right? You'll see when you create a whole mockup with a 500 elements, you really need to label your stuff, okay? So now in image hide and show, I'm going to click on that and then down here, so look, I can do a bunch of things. I can show, I can hide, or I can toggle. So if it's hidden, it'll show. If it's shown, it'll hide, okay? But so let's do show for now. And then I can do an animation. I can slide down. Let's do that. And I can slide down. Let's slide down in a 1 second. And then I could also treat as a light box. Let's do that, and then you'll see how that works, and we'll come back to it. Okay, and we'll turn the light box off. So now I'm going to hit preview, and now I'm going to change this thing. Boom. So did you see how it did a light box? So it faded everything behind that image. So if you wanted to create a nice little modal feature, right, where a pop-up comes up or something and everything in the background goes cover. Yeah, exactly. Uh, okay, sorry? Okay, that's fine. I can I'll help you guys out. What's you didn't So okay, we'll go back here. So click on the drop down, okay? And then click on your on selection change. Whoops, that's another case. Or case 1. Click on case 1, okay? And then so when the selection changes, I'm gonna show, hide, and hide, or image, hide, and show, and that's gonna slide down and be treated as a light box, right? Okay. Um, okay, I think I'm gonna show you. We have about 15 minutes left. So one thing I'm gonna show you is something. Oh, yeah, there's a couple things I want to show you. Two things at least. Okay, so we're gonna go down here. So see this area underneath libraries? It's called masters. That's going to be a really important section for you because especially when you're working on a big team like at a bank or something, or on a product where lots of people work on it, you don't want to redraw the wheel every time, right? Or like let's say you're working on a product and your header and footer is the same on every page, right? You don't want to redraw that constantly, right? Or let's say for your phone apps, right? The layouts are very similar, right? The header, the footer. There's lots of reusable components. So what you can do is you can combine. Let's say we'll combine this and this, and I'll drag in my image here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to click all of these, so I have them all selected, and I'm going to right click and say, so I can do two things. I can convert to a master, which let's do that first. So the new name of the master is, we'll just call it Carmen's combo, okay? And we're gonna create it. So now what that's done is, now I have this master here that that's like a class of object now. So if I go to page 2, I can just drag it in. And there I have Carmen's thing. So now if I go to the master, I should be able to edit it. Can I edit this? Maybe I have to edit it on the first page. Oh yeah, no, that is the master. Yeah, I opened it up. So see, it opened as like another page. So now let's delete my ugly photo there. So now it's going to be changed on every page, right? So that'll save a ton of work for you if if your stakeholder says, "Oh, you know what? Take this out of the header." So instead of in Sketch, what you got to do, well, Sketch has something similar. They're called Cymbals that you can basically create a composite object and then make copies of that object. But I don't think it's quite as simple as this. But so, let's say you have 20 pages and your stakeholders like, oh, change this in the header. So now you just change it in the master, and then all the other instances of that thing have been changed. Okay. Okay. Um, so that was master, but what you can also do, so let's say this stuff here, I'm clicking all these buttons. Like I've clicked this text box, I've clicked this text area, I've clicked this combo and this button. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click and say convert to dynamic panel. Okay. So what that does is this kind of makes this thing like a little sub page on its own that has different states. Okay. So what you can do is, so I'm gonna actually let's undo that. What I'm gonna do is I'll create a image carousel because it's a little more intuitive as to what's going on. So let's just go to Google Images here. Look up landscape. Okay, I'm just gonna take a couple images here real quick. Save as interaction design. Save as. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is go back to that folder. We'll start a new page. This one's pretty crowded. And I'm going to go to my folder where my pictures are. I'm going to drag one in. Where'd they go? Okay. Yeah. So it's asking me, it's very large. Would you like to optimize it? Usually you want to say yes, because that image is like probably 4 or 5 megs. Then it will shrink it to half a meg or something. Okay. So there's our first picture. Let's shrink it down a little bit. I'm going to put this here. We'll zoom back in. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I can either click and convert this to a dynamic panel, or I can click in here on dynamic panel and drag in a dynamic panel. Okay. So maybe it's a little easier so I'll drag in a panel. I'm going to cut this image, and then I'm going to make this dynamic panel big, and I'm going to double click in it. And so now it's giving me options for different states. So I'm going to call this images, and then I'm going to pick state 1. That's the first state. I'm going to click on that, and now I'm inside the dynamic panel. I'm inside that. And I'm going to paste my photo. I'm going to put it right in the top corner. Okay. So now if I go to my page, you can see my my dynamic panel with my image there. So actually, let me zoom out. It wasn't. So see how that's the outline of my panel? So I'm going to make my image fill up that outline. So when I go back to the page, now it's full. Okay. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to add a state. So see here, plus. I'm going to add in state 2. I'm going to click on that. That's my second state of my dynamic panel. So now I'm going to go back to my photo. I'm going to drag in this photo. I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to drag it out so it takes up the entire panel. So now when I go to page 1, it's going to show this one because that's state 1. So if I go in here and I move state 2 up, it's going to show the other one. Right? So now I'm going to add my third state. So I'm going to click in here. I'm going to add another state, state 3, and I'm going to go inside the state. Okay? I'm going to go back to my photo, and I'm going to drag in my photo here again, or a different photo. I'm going to zoom out, right? Control mouse wheel is how I'm zooming in and out there. Very fast. So I'm going to drag this again so that it's outside the bounds of my dynamic panel, so it fills up the whole thing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple buttons. So let's do it like this. Let's do, Or we could do something, what can we do? Um, let's do this. So I'm going to take in some more images. I'm going to look up a chevron image. Chevron with a transparent background. Transparent background. That one. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Save image as. I'm going to save it in here. Ooh, SVG. I don't know if it does SVGs, but we'll see. So now I'm going to modify by date. I'm going to drag it in here. Drag my chevron in. Oh, nice. Okay, it worked. So now I'm going to shrink it down. Okay. And I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put this one here, and we're going to make it skinny. Copy this one, put it over here, and then I'm going to, do we have to go over here? Style, and I'm going to rotate 180, okay? And we're going to put these somewhere up here, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to double click on my chevron, right? Can you guys guess what I'm going to do here? I'm going to click on here. I'm going to call it left, or we should call it chevron left and chevron right, okay? And now I'm going to click on that chevron, and I'm going to click on the on click event. Make sure this is labeled. So, okay, I labeled that. So on the on click event, what I want to do is I want to set panel state. Okay? And now it's giving me, I only have one dynamic panel, so it's just giving me the one I labeled images. And then, so I can actually set a specific state, or I can just pick the next one. So I'm going to pick next. Okay? And then we can animate in and out. So I want to animate in and out, slide right. So that my images are going to go whoop like that. Okay? That's the first one. So let's click OK. And let's do the other one. Same chevron, or chevron right. And then I'm going to on-click it. Click on the on-click. And then on-click, I want to set the panel state. Right? It's almost like an English statement. You're saying, on the click, I want to set the panel to the state, and then in here, well, what state? Well, I want to set it to the previous state. And then we're going to animate in, and we'll slide left. Okay, let's see if that works. It might actually be the opposite. We might have to adjust it. Okay, let's see. Cross our fingers. Let's hope it runs. Okay, here we go. Ready? Oh, nope. What happened? Oh, there we go. This side works. Why didn't it work for me? Oh. Oh, it only goes one way. It doesn't wrap. So let's see, if there's a way to, can you just wrap it? There should be a way to wrap it. So I'm clicking on here. I'm going to double click back here. Oh, wrap first to last. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, right there, wrap first to last. Okay, preview. And now we have, woo, 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 woo. Can't do that in Vision, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot, right? Especially this sliding thing. You can't. What you can do is create one page that looks like this and another page that looks like this. And then when you click on this one, you can switch to this one and not have the nice animation slide effect. Yep.